I've done quite a few updates to AudioShrink over the last few days and also hours. If you don't know, AudioShrink is basically a system that allows you to scale to music based on AudioLink. Yeah, it can be quite nausea-inducing, which is why it's off by default. And you also have these safe zones, so even if you enable it, you get this little pop-up here that says you're currently inside a safe zone. Step out of it for AudioShrink to take effect. And if you're inside a safe zone, AudioShrink doesn't do anything. Only if you're outside of a safe zone. Yeah, you have your usual settings to select what audio band you want it to react to. You have the normal default scale, and you have the max amplitude scale, which is basically when like bass is at 0, this is like what it's using, and if it's max, this is what it's using. You can also make yourself smaller instead of bigger if you want that. New additions are these master settings, and the option to have like settings local or synced. As you can see right now it says local, but if I as the master enable syncing, now it says synced on both clients, and whenever I do here or in the other client, it's going to be synced between us. Yeah, this is one new addition. As you can see, on the left, not on the left, on the right, it says that I cannot change these because, well, I'm not the master. Because Dr. Blackrat is. Don't worry, there are 2 Dr. Blackrats in here right now, so it can be quite confusing. But yeah, for example, another cool thing is that I can enable master control, which now gives me as a master control about the settings. Still not about enabling and disabling it, that's always going to be local, no matter what, with one exception. But in master controlled mode, you can adjust these, but only as a master. This could be handful for like events, but I'm not sure if anyone's actually planning on using it for things like that. One other cool thing is that if I'm going back into this client and I'm enabling it, going back to bass because that's more useful. If I as a master can now do master disable, which will disable it for everyone and then lock it so you can't enable it anymore. That's the only exception about the master taking control over the enable thing. It still can't override safe zones, and you also can't enable it as a master, because if I disable it, it stays disabled on purpose, because I don't want it to like randomly turn on for people if they don't want to. Yeah, I made sure to keep it as safe as possible to use, because as I said, it can be quite nausea-inducing. Yeah, and that's also why you can't enable it by default in the settings. I can show what it looks like in Unity. You have your AudioShrink, and there you have the AudioShrink script. You have all the internal stuff in here, which is, you can ignore that for the most part. And in here you can, for the most part, just set all the defaults, like if it should sync the settings, if master disable should be on by default, or if master control should be on by default, what band to use, and you can also set like an additional delay, but that's normally not really required. And you can also set the default and max amplitude scaling in here. Yeah, and you also don't need to like manually tell what AudioLink you're having, or you also don't even need to enable the data toggle in here, because I do all of that automatically for you. Then you also have the AudioShrink safe zones. In this one I already have 2. I have this one, and then I have this bigger one over here. You can have as many as you want. You can also, without any problems, walk between them. And you can also, you can do overlap them if you want to walk between them. But yeah, this isn't out yet, as I still need to do like some testing to make sure that there aren't any issues. But from what I know, it works perfectly fine. And as I said, I made sure that it's safe to use and you can turn it off if you find it annoying. For example, if you're putting this in the world, I highly recommend you to put a safe zone wherever the control panel is. I'll probably end up making one at the control panel by default, and when it spawns, so that when people respawn, it also disables it. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I hope to get this out in like a few days. I need to write all the documentation for it and whatnot. But yeah, if it is out, I'll post a link in the comments